Greek. I'm factory mechanic for Natalie and Bithell. I was a dirt bike guy for a long time. I worked for actually a past quad rider and turned motocross rider. His name's Richie Owens. I worked for him, and I was good friends with him, and his dad's a multi-time quad speedway champ, which is really good friends with Corey Ellis. And Corey called me one day and they had a job at Suzuki for Doug Gus, and I went to work for him and in 2008. And that was my first quad gig, and it was straight to the top. You know, you go to work for someone like Doug Gus is really a big deal, and we had a great year. Doug won a couple races that year and finished on the box a lot and ended up third in points. So just after that, you know, you work for a guy like that and a team like that, you kind of have a good reputation. You don't have any issues. The next year I went to work for Can-Am for Under the Motorworks Can-Am race team tent and worked for a kid named Brandon Smith. It was his first year running pro and kind of had a rocky year, and he, you know, got married and had a family and kind of moved away from racing. And then we signed John, Natalie, and Chad Weenan the next year in 2010, and I went to work for John, and kind of history in the riding now. You know, we won first overall for Can-Am. We won first championship for Can-Am together last year, and then this year we brought in GMCC. We actually have a side-by-side program. A kid named Kyle Cheney drives that, and a friend of mine, or our other mechanic, Darren Thomas, works on that. And then I work for Chris Bithell doing the ATV GNCC stuff. And you know, he's a stellar rider and really good kid. We've been having a decent year and kind of figuring things out. It's new to us, and listening to what he's got to say and making small improvements here and there, and come a long way. We got a second in snowshoe as our best finish, and he rode really strong, so it's been pretty good. As riders, I like them both. I mean, they're both great. They're both fun to work for. I'm a little biased, I guess, to motocross because that's what I raced. And so racing growing up, it was always motocross. And then from a mechanic standpoint at GNCC, you don't get to see your rider, but for maybe a minute, the entire 2-hour race. So it's tough on us because we don't see them. There's not a lot that we can do once they take off. So the strategy's fun, and the pits are obviously fun because you get to really interact with your rider when they pit. But I'd have to say, not in a bad way, I just enjoy motocross because I'm there. When he's on the track, I'm racing because I can watch him the entire time, and that's where I get my thrill. That's why I do what I do still. But in GNCC, the rule is the rider can't have any communication with the pits. And so really we just have a bunch of, you know, they all call them mud fleas, but it's just all our friends, you know, people that come up to support Can-Am, people that are just fans of Can-Am, or Chris, or, you know, me, whoever. They're out there, they all got fuel in their bags. They're all, you know, just something, in case something was to happen, they can get them back. They carry extra goggles and rags, and that's the biggest thing, is having people, you know. Jimmy Odell, he's the race team manager for Can-Am in general, not of our race team, but he's at every event that we're at, and he goes out in the woods and hikes and bikes around and does everything he can, and he's all, you know, at all sorts of ends of the track trying to find Chris good lines, and, you know, giving him a rag or splashing him with water. Like Ohio was over 100 degrees. Yeah. You know, you got a 2-hour race, 100 degrees weather. It's tough on those guys. So, you know, they just splash them, and just that little bit of cool down just get you that extra little notch that you need to make it through the rest of the race. So guys like that, and just all the fans that help these guys, I mean, they'll help anyone. They'll dive in the mud puddle to get you out, and that's what makes GNCC the life that it is. It would be cool, but I don't know if everyone always wants to hear what each other have to say while the race is going on. But for our side-by-side program, it'd be really nice to have headphones in his ear, because he can actually focus a little bit more on it. When you're on a quad, it's tough to actually hit the button, you know, in the woods. Yeah. You know, you have a co-pilot in your side-by-side, so you could speak with him, and he could kind of relay the message to your driver, you know, hey, this is wrong, or, you know, hey, you're in first, you know, take it easy. I mean, at the last one, we were leading, we had a 25-second lead, and our driver was misreading the scoring chute sign. Every lap he come through, he thought he lost a place, so by the 5th lap, he thought he was in 5th, and he was frustrated because he felt like he was driving really well, and he was actually leading by quite a bit, and the lapper kind of got in the way, and they come in, and he bumped the lapper to try to tell him, hey, I'm here, move, and the guy brake checked him. He drove on the back wheel and flipped the car and got back out, flipped it over, and still only finished 3 seconds behind the guy that ended up winning the race. So, you know, our guys on the West Coast and Darren Thomas, you know, we're together 24 hours a day. I mean, it's pretty rough at times. You know, everyone wears thin on each other, but the guys on the West Coast do a great job, and you know, they don't really have any issues, and so that always makes for better racing and for championships, and they've won a lot of championships over there. So being at the works races starting in January, we were there doing those, and I just kind of crew chiefed around and just helped and change tires, whatever it took to get those guys going, and did a lot of side-by-side testing with Josh. Me and Darren really worked on his car a lot and got Josh into, I mean, I think he got second or third at the second works race, so it was really good. And then we left in February. I've been on the road. I left February 15th to head to Florida and got on the road, and we built a side-by-side for GNCC, did a little bit of testing there, went down and tested with John and Joel and Chris, you know, in a matter of like 4 or 5 days to try to get everything ready for the season. And we headed down to Florida to the River Ranch GNCC, and Chris Bithell got a bad start, got splashed in the mud hole pretty bad right off the start, and worked his way through and actually led at one point in time, and you know, had a really solid third place ride there. So it really set the pace early of what we were expected to do, you know, being on the box every weekend and being in contention for the wins, and pretty much every weekend we're right there. It was a big deal to me. I mean, it's still in my head, like when I think back to actually winning a championship when I was a kid, thinking about that's what I wanted to do when I quit racing. You know, I started doing this like 17, 18 years old. I'm 28 now, and it took me a long time, it feels like, to get here, but you know, there's guys that are twice my age that never won a championship and work just as hard as I have. So it's really a monumental deal in your life to go out and win a championship. Everyone's cutting back, and you know, you've seen some other manufacturers drop out, and you've seen some other manufacturers that never actually went in full bore. And I think Can-Am come in 08, and what they done in 08 was shocking, because that was kind of the drop of the market. And for them to invest what they've done, I don't see them going anywhere. I think everything scales back, but I get excited to go to Bill Balance's track every year. For some reason, that was my first pro win with Doug Gus in 08. We won there, and the next year we came in, or the next time I won there was in 2010 with John, and we won the first moto. We ended up having some issues the second moto, but we were pretty sure we would have won the overall. So almost every time I've been there, I've won. 2011, John won both motos, and this year he won both motos. So my favorite round's probably there. Redbud's always, I mean, the facility is so fabulous there. I mean, it's a class act of a place. My least favorite is probably Unadilla. It's kind of, you know, but conditions don't really bother me. I mean, no mechanics like the mud. John's good the mud, so I guess I like it for that reason, but it's a lot of work on us, and it hurts the bike and the budget and everything when you go race a mud bog race, and you rebuild the whole bike afterwards. John raced the Budds Creek TT last year. We raced motocross on Saturday, won both motos, and then he called me Saturday night like late, and I was back at the hotel, and he goes, "Hey, come in the morning, we'll take the race bike and go race the TT track." I'm like, okay. So we went out. You know, Chucky actually lent us a set of tires and a sway bar, and we went out, and John hadn't ridden a TT track in 10, 15 years, and we figured it out. I mean, we had a long swing arm and long shocks, and we were way off, but to go out, and I think we ended up getting third in pro and fourth overall at Pro-Am or something, but we had the sway bar not come off on the Hymans that connect the sway bar to the A-arm, so just something that, you know, I didn't know nothing about it, and, you know, just kind of got thrown into it, but it was a good time. And so now being here and seeing all these guys, you know, Harold, he's impressive with what he does. You know, Timmy Farr's here, and he's racing a couple different classes, and he's impressive. Yeah, you know, to be able to just watch Timmy ride is cool, because I never got to see him. He retired before I came into the scene, you know, and to be around guys like that and just kind of watch what they do to the bike, you know, just kind of stand back, seeing what they're doing, and it teaches you a lot. I mean, there's guys like Mark, you know, here helping Timmy out, and Mark's a legend of his own right in this sport, so just anything you can pick up on has always been something that I do, and, you know, I just follow a lot of people's leads and take everyone's advice. Even if I don't agree with it, I still take their advice, because it might be right one day, and you always have it in memory bank and go from there. I think it's just finances. It's hard to make a living racing now, and you had guys that were, you know, top 5 guys, top 6, 7 guys that were making decent livings, and now those guys aren't, and they're having to pay for it out of their pockets. At one point in time, it's either you're gonna have to grow up or find some backing, and the backing just, it struggles right now, and I hate to be like sound down about it, You know, that's one of the reasons I encourage people, even though I didn't work for Can-Am, to go out and ride a Can-Am. You can go race the A class and make $1,500. I mean, why wouldn't you do that? It's pretty simple in paper. You put the contingency that anyone else offers against the Can-Am contingency, and it's not going anywhere. I mean, they're offering the contingency. I mean, for a good instance is Travis Bader. You know, he's making a killing. He doesn't really need the money, but it helps him go racing. He's still having fun racing, and he makes a good living off of going racing as an amateur again, and he loves it. I mean, the guy, he rides around the pits, comes over and chit-chats with us, and he's a great guy. I never got to meet him when he raced. So now to be able to see him and go watch him, and even him and John are pretty good friends, so they talk about setup and stuff and how the track's turning out. It's great to see these guys, and so a lot of guys are starting to switch to Can-Ams, and I encourage everybody. I mean, they're supporting the sport more than anyone else is, so support them back would be, you know, my slogan. I work pretty much 7 days a week. This weekend is the first weekend I've had off since February 15th. I've worked every day since then, and you know, and here we are at a racetrack again, watching friends race. You know, and just that's what it's in our blood. We go to dinner and we're like, let's not talk about racing, and it's silent. And then we all start talking about racing, and we have a good time again. For some reason, we just can't get over it. So that's what drives you. It's just that's what we do.